Welcome to Regulatory Requirement for Medical Devices and In Vitro Diagnostics in India, Lecture 9. Lecture 9, that is the inspection of medical devices and in vitro diagnostics establishments. So in this lecture, you will be understand what is the inspection, what is inspection of the establishment or the manufacturing site, why inspection is required to be carried out at the premises, inspection of the medical devices and in vitro diagnostic, what will be the conformance with respect to the quality management system for manufacturing of medical devices and in vitro diagnostics. Who does the regulatory inspection? There are different types of inspection. It is not that all the inspection is considered as a regulatory inspection. Regulatory inspection means for the purpose of grant of manufacturing license for import for manufacture into the country. So that all those inspection, what types of the inspection are there, where it is required, what in the inspection, what need to be verified, all those part we will discuss in this lecture. And in this lecture, the lecture will be again done by Dr. Malay Mitra, who was the former Deputy Drug Controller in CDSCO, having lot of regulatory experience and knowledge in the medical device and in vitro diagnostics. So in that lecture, why the inspection is done, you will be understand. Inspection of the establishment licensed or to be licensed under the drugs and cosmetics are carried out. Why it is carried out? To evaluate if the facility have been set up according to the norms or the provisions as stated in the 5th schedule of the Medical Device Rule 2017. What is fifth schedule? We have already discussed that in the general discussion on the Medical Device Rule. 5th schedule is the quality management system, requirement of the quality management system for manufacturing of medical devices and in vitro diagnostics. So under this lecture, you will understand types of the inspection, what different types of inspection are carried out at the manufacturing premises or establishment. Some inspection that you can call as regulatory inspection, that inspection is required for before grant of manufacturing license. Some inspection carried out for the verification of the non-compliances which were observed by the inspection team. Some inspection based on the complaint, if somebody has raised complaint or some concern was observed by the regulators, as a part of investigation they will again inspect the premises, that will also called as a regulatory inspection. Self inspection, that is the responsibility of the manufacturer, as one of the responsibility being conformance with the quality management system. The manufacturer may have the provision for self inspection or self audit. In that audit he can hire the external experts for inspection to verify whether the conditions of the license given by the licensing authority is complied or not. So these are the various different types of the inspection that you will learn more about this inspection in this next lecture, which will be given by the Mr. Malay Mitra. And who does the inspection to the manufacturing premises? Also you will be knowing that already we have discussed in the Medical Device Rule 2017, the person appointed as a medical device officer under Rule 18, Sub Rule 2 of the 18 will be responsible for inspection of the premises. It is not that anybody can go there to inspect the premises. Only as per the Medical Device Rule, medical device officer, he will be responsible. Medical device officer engaged in the with the central licensing authority, they will be responsible for inspection of class C and class D manufacturing unit. And notified body, also we have discussed, the notified body will be responsible for audit of class A and class B medical devices. Who will be the notified body? The notified body who have already registered with the central licensing authority only will be responsible for audit of class A and Class B medical devices, and also the medical device officer appointed by the state licensing authority, they will verify the 2% of the inspection carried out by the notified body with respect to the conformance of the QMS. So these are the competent technical staff personnel appointed under the medical device rule 2017, who will be responsible for inspection of the manufacturing site, and based on the inspection of these officials, the licensing authority can grant the manufacturing license for manufacture of medical devices and in vitro diagnostics. So all these details you will be understand in the detailed presentation on the lecture 9, that is the inspection of the medical device and in vitro diagnostic establishment. So concentrate on the lecture, and again I will tell you, if you have any doubt, you please come back to us, we will further clarify you. Thank you very much and enjoy in the lecture. Thank you.
Hello friends, this is one of those inspections in a series of inspections on medical devices, and this time we are going to talk on inspection of medical device and IVD establishments. We know inspection is one of the most important aspects during licensing, and any manufacturer or an applicant for manufacture of medical devices has to go through inspection of their establishment. And this particular presentation will explain the overview of how the inspections are carried out and types of inspections and who carried out the inspections, and a general view of what is actually expected of you to get inspected on. Let's see the definition of inspection. As per Wikipedia, inspection is an organized examination or formal evaluation exercise. In engineering activities, inspection involves the measurement, tests and gauges applied to certain characteristics in regard to an object or activity. The results are usually compared to specified requirements and standards for determining whether the item or activity is in line with these targets, often with a standard inspection procedure in place to ensure consistent checking. Inspections are usually non-destructive. So, what is an inspection? Inspection is not testing. Testing is actually destructive practice, but in inspection, what happens is your plant, equipment, manpower, procedures go through a series of examination by certain trained people, and what they do is they compare what you're doing with standard practices and objectives that those activities should meet up to. In case they meet up to, you pass the standard and your inspection is successful. If not, then you have to go the extra mile to comply with the requirements. Why inspection is done? Inspection of establishments licensed or to be licensed under the Drug and Cosmetics Act are carried out to evaluate if they have been set up according to norms as stated in the regulations. The establishments of various arms inputs are compared with the prescribed conditions, and a conclusion is reached whether it can be licensed or not. The following slides include the requirements for obtaining a license, which are examined during an inspection. Now, this is basically a inspection procedure based on inspection of a manufacturing plant for medical devices. However, the same criteria is applied in any inspection under Drug and Cosmetics Act broadly. So the slides are specific for medical devices, but can be applied to any inspection required. Now this is actually the inspection cycle. This is known as the cycle of inspection. An audit is carried out and deficiencies are found out, or shortcomings are found out, obtained in the inspection, and these are removed by the applicant, and then re-audit is carried out. This cycle goes on until and unless all the deficiencies are removed and the audit becomes successful. Inspections are of various types. We are mostly acquainted with auditing and inspections by regulatory authorities. There are other types of auditing also, and and are no less important. They are broadly as follows. Regulatory audits, we shall describe this in the subsequent slides. Audits by purchasing agencies. When your product has to be purchased by a vendor, he can audit your facilities, which is known as a vendor audit or a pre-purchase audit. Audits by importers, by foreign agencies. You want to export to a foreign country, they can come and audit you. That's an audit similar to the regulatory audit. Audits by outside experts. An expert from outside is hired by you to carry out a specific audit on qualities, and that is also an inspection. Internal audit or self-audit is done by the manufacturer himself to find out the compliance with regulatory requirements or any other requirement that is essential for your manufacturing. Some of the above be explained in the following slide, especially the regulatory audits. We are not concerned about audit by purchasing agencies, etc. Those are separate chapters altogether and are not in the scope of this particular presentation. The following are the main type of inspections before or inspection before grant of a license. This is a regulatory audit. Our main focus during the course of this presentation is on this type of inspection. This is the major inspection where the regulator visits the establishment for the first time and gets to see and understand the details of manufacturing related statutory activities. Before this visit, the regulators have developed the idea of the plant through papers submitted during the application process. Remember, an auditor or an inspector or a medical device officer in this case will visit your plant after you apply for a license along with documents, and those documents have the details of your plant and equipment and process and procedures. He has studied those things and he has come to your plant to actually verify whether you have submitted everything in a proper and honest manner. Second inspection for continuation of a license. This is also a regulatory inspection, and licenses issued to manufacturing medical device or IVD is valid perpetually. That means it does not have the expiry date and it is valid indefinitely. However, its continuation has to be maintained by payment of fees and if necessary undergo an inspection. These inspections are actually reevaluate the system of an establishment for continuation of its license. Inspection of a medical device establishment have to be carried out once a year on routine. So your license is perpetual. However, before 5 years you have to apply for it and get the license continuation carried out. So it's perpetual. Every 5 years renew it. Second is, the law says, the medical regulation says, apart from the inspections for continuation of license, your plant has to be inspected every year on the routine. So whether you like it or not, every year some officer will enter your plant and check them. These inspections are actually to maintain the systems in your plant and the GMP procedures that you carried out. And these inspections will find out and tell you also whether you're missing out on certain things or you slipped on certain areas where you have to pull yourself up. Then we come to investigative inspections. This is also regulatory inspection. In this case, what happens is, as the name suggests, these inspections are carried out to investigate complaints or inconsistencies of the firm's products or in its working. These inspections can be announced or non-announced and surprise, depending on the nature of the complaint. So in case one of your products is found to be causing some reaction in some patients somewhere in the country or abroad, the regulator may visit your plant without even announcing and carry out a detailed audit of that particular product and your plant to find out whether it has originated from your plant or not. So this is actually investigative inspections. Self-inspection. This is not a regulatory inspection. In this case, of course, as the name suggests, these inspections are carried out by the establishment on its own, by its own personnel or from outside to assess the conditions compliance to regulations. They form an important part of QMS GMP and reports of these are asked for by regulators during regulatory inspections. Frequency of these inspections are decided by the establishment as per the risk associated with an activity. And this particular self-inspection has been mentioned in the regulations very, very clearly. So this is also a compulsory inspection to be done by you. And self-inspections are not necessarily a fixed period inspection. A plant may have self-inspections on a particular risky area every 3 months or 4 months and a generally stable area every year as per the requirement. So this is decided by the firm itself. Who does the regulatory inspection? Now we come to regulatory inspections because this is what our focus. Medical device officers. Who are medical device officers? They have the power under regulations to carry out inspections of medical device manufacturing establishment. This is chapter 1 preliminary in the regulations. The definition of medical device has been mentioned by ZD at ZD. Para ZD, medical device officer means an officer appointed or designated by the central government or the state government, as the case may be, under sub rule 2 of rule 18. Medical device officers appointed under rule 18(2) of the medical device regulations and are read as follows. The central government, or as the case may be, the state government may designate an inspector appointed under section 21 of the Act as medical device officer. So what does section 21 say? Section 21 of the Drug and Cosmetics Act, which is the mother act of the regulation, all regulations. Section 21 says the government can appoint inspectors to carry out inspections of facilities under the Drug and Cosmetics Act. Now that inspector has been designated as a medical device officer in the regulations, and under that section they are appointed under rule 18(2). So they have the powers as per the Drug and Cosmetic Act. The powers include, power of medical device officers under the Act include inspection, search and seizure, taking samples, etc. Important to mention that medical device officers inspect establishment of class C and medical device manufacturers. This is a CDSO inspector who has the power to inspect class C and D medical device manufacturers, because the C and D medical device manufacturers are licensed by CDSO and not by the state government. Similarly, medical device officers of the state inspect establishment of class B medical device manufacturers, and accredited notified bodies audit establishments of class A and B medical device manufacturers. Now, this does not mean that class B medical device manufacturers cannot be inspected by medical device officers of class C and D, because the application goes to both of them in case of class B medical device manufacturers, and both can carry out a joint inspection if required. Inspection for grant of license or load license for class C or D medical device. Before grant of license to manufacture for sale or for distribution in respect of class C or D medical device, the manufacturing site shall be inspected within a period of 60 days from the date of application by a team comprising not less than 2 medical device officers, which may include any officer senior to the medical device officer, or with or without an expert or a notified body referred to subsection 4 of rule 13. Now this is the power given for inspection to the CDSO. The CDSO under this particular provision can carry out an inspection, and it comprises of a minimum of 2 persons and a maximum of 3 persons. I mean, there are 2 persons. Who are the 2 persons? A team comprising not less than 2 medical device officers, one is senior to the other, and if required, an expert on the medical device can accompany them. So it will be a team of maximum 3 officers who will visit and carry out the inspection. Provided that no inspection of a medical device manufacturing site or for grant of loan license to manufacture such medical device shall be required to be carried out if the manufacturing site is already licensed to manufacture such medical device for sale or for distribution. This actually means that if there's a plant who's manufacturing, say, hypodermic syringes, plastic disposable hypodermic syringes on their own for marketing. Now, I as a manufacturer who doesn't have a plant apply for a loan license in the same plant where this is manufactured, and I get a license to manufacture plastic disposable syringes, similar type that the parent firm manufactures. In that case, the plant may not be inspected for my product sake. I may be granted license looking into the mother plant's capabilities to manufacture the products. The composition of the inspection team referred to in sub-rule 1 shall be determined by the controlling officer, and no inspection shall be carried out without prior approval of the controlling officer. So the controlling officer is a person who is also mentioned in the Drug and Cosmetic Act, who can be a controlling officer. He can be a drug controller, he can be a person under the drug controller with his, or the powers can be delegated to somebody under the drug controller. So drug controller has to authorize an inspection to be carried out. So inspector cannot enter a plant. He cannot enter a plant without the prior approval of his senior controlling officer. What is inspected? Now let's come to the actual inspection portion and what is inspected by medical device officers. While making application for grant of license or loan license under Rule 20 or Rule 21, the applicant shall meet the following requirements, namely, the manufacturing site shall comply with the requirements of quality management system as specified under the 5th schedule. That means quality management system is also inspected while the inspection is going on, because you apply for a grant of license and you have to comply with QMS. Appoint competent technical staff under whose direction and supervision the manufacturing activity of a medical device shall be undertaken, and such staff shall possess the following educational qualifications. Now this competent technical staff in red means that you have to appoint certain people who have got knowledge and who are able to manufacture those products, and they are competent to do that by virtue of their experience and educational qualification as mentioned. So this is something also which is examined by during the time of inspection. Now what these competent technical staff should possess: a degree in engineering or in a relevant branch or in pharmacy or in science or in appropriate subject from a recognized university, and shall have experience of not less than 2 years in manufacturing or testing of medical devices. Now you require a person, competent person for manufacturing as head of manufacturing and a competent person head of testing. So you should have 2 persons of that level who have got a degree in engineering, etc., and has got at least 2 years experience in the type of product that is being applied for to get a license. Number 2 is B, diploma. If you have a person with a diploma and not a degree, then the same qualifications are required in diploma with an experience of not less than 4 years. That is, earlier for degree it was 2 years, for diploma it is 4 years for testing of medical devices and manufacturing of medical devices. Appoint competent technical staff with degree or diploma in engineering, a relevant branch or in pharmacy or in science or relevant subject, and having experience of not less than 2 years in testing of medical devices, under whose direction and supervision testing activity of a medical device shall be undertaken. So a person who is actually having an experience of less than 2 years, not less than 2 years, and has a degree and diploma in a relevant field has to be appointed as head of the testing of the medical device in the plant. So this is very clearly mentioned, and these portions, experience and qualification, are also part of the inspection system, in which these are examined in detail by way of examined documents and experience certificates, etc. And only then the regulatory authorities, the inspectors, can take a decision whether they are competent to manufacture the products or not. Inspections are basically based on QMS and GMP. Every aspect of an establishment is inspected in detail by the medical device officers and include, but is not limited to, such aspects as the buildings, manpower, equipment, etc. Though examination of the manufacturing and testing aspects is given focus. So inspection is carried out of the buildings, what kind of factory building you have got, walls, etc., the HVAC system, the equipment that you have procured to manufacture these products, etc. Steps in inspection. What is the general step carried out everywhere, including all over the world in the inspection? The following steps are actually carried out. The first is your introduction meeting. There is a preliminary meeting for introduction and outlining the plan of the inspection. Discussion on technical matters are also taken up. This is the first step when a medical device officer's team enters a plant. The second phase is your inspection phase. In this case, the actual walkthrough inspection of the premises is carried out, examining the facilities, machinery and procedures. So they walk through the whole facility, right from the raw materials stage to the finished stage, going to the laboratories, etc., and recording everything that they see and any deficiencies that they see in the process. Examination of documents is the next stage, and interviewing people is done after the walkthrough inspection. So after the walkthrough inspection, they sit down at a particular place and ask for documents for backing up what they saw during the inspection, also backing up the details that they have submitted in the application. And in this is the particular stage when they come in contact with the technical personnel and other personnel, whether they are trained or not, whether they know their subject or not. And this is also recorded in the inspection report. Then the report is prepared. A report is prepared summarizing the outcome. The inspection documents are collected. Then at the end of the day, you have a closing meeting in which general discussions carried out about the plant, and the inspection ends over there. Now let's come to the specifics of what is actually seen during the inspection. The plant master file. This is prepared by the plant and submitted to the regulators before an inspection is carried out. This gives actually a bird's eye view of the plant right from the very beginning. What is general inspection, personal premises. It's a very concise document, crisp document, not a very lengthy document. And before a regulator enters a plant, he can go through this document and gets a nice picture of the plant, what he's going to expect when he goes in the plant. Then we come down to the device master file. The appendix 2 and 3 of the regulations describe this. The appendix 2 is the device master file for medical devices other than in vitro diagnostic medical devices. Appendix 3 is device master file or in vitro diagnostic medical devices, which is actually reagents. The above documents are submitted before the inspection, giving the detailed technical information of the products for which establishment applies for a license. This document, the device master file document, is gone through with a lens in the regulator's office before the inspection is carried out, and any queries regarding the product details is answered at that point of itself. It is asked by the regulator and the applicant replies to that, and only after complete satisfaction that the product is as per the device master file that the inspection stage is carried out. Fifth schedule, rule 23, 25, 28, 22.1. Quality management system for medical devices and in vitro diagnostic medical devices. This is the most important portion in the regulations, which actually guide the inspectors and also the applicant to set up their plant according to the norms. The most important part in the inspection, compliance to this schedule ensures that an inspection will be successful. Compliance ensures the safety and effectiveness of a device. This is more or less the same as ISO 13485, which is internationally accepted QMS for medical devices and in vitro devices. So you have to follow 13485 completely, which is actually the QMS as mentioned in the Medical Device Regulation 2017. Now selected extracts of this quality management system is explained over here so that we get an idea of what is actually seen during the inspection. General requirement. This schedule specifies requirements for quality management system that shall be used by the manufacturer for the design and development, manufacture, packaging, labeling, testing, installation and servicing of medical devices and in vitro diagnostic medical devices. If the manufacturer does not carry out design and development activity, the same shall be recorded in the quality management system. The manufacturer shall maintain conformity with the schedule to reflect the exclusions. So this actually, what does the general requirement require? It says that it shall be used to design and develop the manufacture, packaging, labeling, testing, installation and servicing of medical devices. All these areas are very clearly the requirement under the general requirements of the QMS system of the Medical Device Regulation 2017, and each one of them has been given in detail everywhere. Another very important portion that is inspected is the documentation. Each type of medical device or in vitro diagnostic medical device, the manufacturer shall establish and maintain a file either containing or identifying documents defining product, specification and quality management system requirements. These documents shall define the complete manufacturing process and if applicable, installation. The manufacturer shall prepare documentation for device or in vitro medical device in the form of a device master file containing specific information and referred to in fourth schedule. So documentation being one of the most important portions of important parts of a manufacturing plant, documentation actually will clearly mention anything that is carried out in the plant and that is recorded again, so that there is a traceability on activities carried out in the plant. Documentations are actually prepared with care and they are authorized for use. You cannot keep on changing documents day in and day out. They are all fixed documents and cannot be changed that easily. Quality manual. The manufacturer shall establish and maintain a quality manual that includes the scope of the quality management system, including detailed of and justification for any exclusion or non-application or both, the documented procedures established for the quality management system or referenced to them, and description of interaction between the process of quality management system. So quality manual has these three functions, and they have to prepare a quality manual and show it to the inspectors when the inspectors visit the plant. Control of documents. Now again we come back to documents again, because document is one of the most important things along with other activities that the plant carries out. A documented procedure shall be established to define the controls needed, to review and approve documents for adequacy prior to use, to review and update as necessary and reapprove documents, to ensure that changes and current revision status of documents are identified, to ensure that relevant versions of applicable documents are available at points of use, to ensure that documents remain legible and readily identifiable, to ensure that documents are of external origin are identified and the distribution controlled, and to prevent the unintended use of obsolete documents and to apply suitable identification to them if they are retained by any purpose. Now, where are the documents used actually? We have to control the documents, but where are they used? The documents are used at every stage in the plant and every procedure that is carried out. Right from the time a raw material enters the plant to the time that a product goes out as a finished product for marketing, all is controlled by documents. There shall be standard operating procedures for each activities, and each activity that is carried out have to be recorded and signed and kept as a record. Now, if there is a change in the procedure, the older SOP has to be withdrawn back and a new document has to be given. This is all controlled under control of documentation. And any slip in the documentation is very clearly identifiable during the inspection. Responsibility, authority and communication. 5.5. 5.5.1 Responsibility and authority under the MDR. Top management of the manufacturer shall ensure the responsibilities and authorities are defined, documented and communicated within the manufacturing organization. Top management of the manufacturer shall establish the interrelation of all personnel who manage, perform and verify work affecting quality, and shall ensure the independence and authority necessary to perform these tasks. That means there should be an organization chart which shall show the flow of authority from the top management to the lowest level of workman who is working. And this responsibility authority has included the top management, who cannot now shirk the responsibility of quality of a product which is manufactured over there. Human resources. Human resources are actually the people working in the plant, the workmen, the people, the workers who are working in the plant, and also including technical personnel and non-technical personnel. 6.2.1 general says, personnel performing work affecting product quality shall be competent on the basis of appropriate education, training, skills and experience. Number of personnel employed shall be adequate and in direct proportion to the workload. Prior to employment, all personnel shall undergo medical examination including eye examination and shall be free from communicable or contagious diseases. Thereafter, they should be medically examined periodically or at least once a year. Records shall be maintained thereof. Now, all these activities, and what are these activities? Undergo medical examination, they should be fit to work, they should be trained, they should be skilled, they should have experience and appropriate education. All this is examined during the audit. So then the auditors may ask for the details of training carried out for the workmen, when they were carried out, what was the assessment of the people who were trained, They shall also find out by way of direct interaction with the shop floor workmen to know their experience and skill, and whether they are working mechanically or they have a general idea of what they are doing. And this is all recorded in the record, so that an overview of a general human resources is got over there. If it is found that the workers are not trained adequately, it is recommended in the report that the workers are not adequately trained. They should be trained properly in certain areas, so that they don't miss out on the quality parameters during manufacturing. Infrastructure. This is actually the hardware of the plant. The organization shall determine, provide and maintain the infrastructure needed to achieve conformity to product requirements. Infrastructure includes, as applicable, building, workspace and associated utilities, process equipment, both hardware and software, and supporting services such as transport or communication. The manufacturer shall establish documented requirement for maintenance activities, including their frequency. When such activities or lack thereof can affect product quality, record of such maintenance shall be maintained. Now, building, workspace, associated utilities include your, right from the beginning, you can have stores with required storage space. Workspace means where the manufacturing is carried out with machineries kept over there. Associated utilities may be steam or your what you call electrical supplies, generator systems, etc., and water supply. Process equipment, both hardware and software process equipment for machinery is required for manufacturing and associated computers and things like that. And all this is examined while the auditors are going through your plant, right from the entry to the exit. They will actually go through everything of this infrastructure and note it down. If they find that the entry procedure to your plant is wrong, you need a changeover for workmen to change their clothes and wash their hands, and if it is not there, they'll record it down, and that will be a deficiency which you have to rectify before you can get a license. So infrastructure is actually very, very important in case of plants which are manufacturing sterile products or products which are of critical nature. For other products, it's not that critical, but that's also important, because this is a part of your QMS system, so you can't ignore this one. Work environment. The organization shall determine and manage the work environment needed to achieve conformity to product requirement. Following requirements shall apply, namely, the manufacturer shall establish documented requirement for health, cleanliness and clothing of personnel. If contact between such personnel and the product or work environment could adversely affect the quality of the product. This actually means that whether the product requires that the personnel should change over to clean uniforms, wear gloves before touching the products, change their shoes and things like that. And if not, why it's not required. If the medical device officers feel that the product environment, in this case the personal and product contamination is there, and the firm has not provided adequate protection, then the medical device officers can very well ask why you have not done it, and they have to have a proper answer for that. If the work environment conditions can have an adverse effect on the product quality, the manufacturer shall establish documented requirement as per Annex A of the schedule for the work environment conditions and documented procedures or work instructions to monitor and control these work environment conditions. That is, in simple terms, they should have SOP for people working over there. The manufacturer shall ensure that all personnel who are required to work temporarily under special environmental conditions within the work environment are appropriately trained and supervised by trained person. That means all contractual workers or casual workers who are employed over there, they should be trained. You can't have untrained people working over there, excepting for a few manual labor jobs like lifting and loading trucks, etc. All other personnel should be trained properly, whether they are regular employees or whether they are casual workers. If appropriate, special arrangements shall be established and documented for the control of contamination or potentially contaminated product in order to prevent contamination of the other products, the work environment of personnel. So, what is a contamination? Contamination of a product to product means you have a batch of products which is defective medical device. Now that has to be protected from other devices so that there is not one of those defective may not get mixed up with the contaminated, the proper products and go into the market. Or for that matter, you have a batch of sterile products which has failed in sterility and they are stored separately. Now these non-sterile products which have failed in sterility actually should not get mixed up with products which have been sterilized and go into the market and cause serious hazards to the patient that they are being used in. All personnel shall bear clean body covering appropriate to their duties. Smoking, eating, drinking, chewing or keeping food and drink shall not be permitted in production, laboratory and storage areas. So this is very clear, simple language. The worker who are entering the plant should actually carry out the work they are assigned to do and not do anything else other than that. Customer focus. Top management of the manufacturer shall ensure that customer requirements are determined and are met. What is the customer requirement? This actually line is the ISO 9000 line which is over here. Customer requirement in this case is the product which is being used by a person, whether a patient or an unhealthy person, that product should actually help that person for a particular activity to be carried out. Now, the customer can be a patient in case of, say, insertion of a cardiac stent. So the requirement of that patient has to be met by the manufacturer and the top management is responsible for that. Anything that goes wrong with the requirement of the product vis-a-vis the customer, the top management shall be responsible for that. Now the manufacturer shall prepare a quality policy as per para 5.3. Top management of the manufacturer shall ensure that the quality policy is appropriate to the purpose of the manufacturing facility, includes a commitment to comply with the requirements and to maintain the effectiveness of the quality management system, provide a framework for establishing and reviewing quality objectives, is communicated and understood within the manufacturer's organization and is reviewed for continuing suitability. The quality policy is usually made by the manufacturer. It can be one-liner or a 3-paragraph policy, crisp but encompasses everything, and that is actually placed at strategic intervals in the plant for everyone to see and get a sense of what they are doing over there. So this is also examined. The auditor may ask that where is your quality policy, and you have to show that quality policy to him at that point of time. Control of production and service provision specific requirements. 7.5.1.2 is the control, and point 1 of this control is cleanliness of product and contamination control. The manufacturer shall establish documented requirements for cleanliness of the product if the product is cleaned by the manufacturer prior to sterilization or its use, or the product is supplied non-sterile to be subjected to cleaning process prior to sterilization or its use, or the product is supplied to be used non-sterile and its cleanliness is of significant in use, or the process agents are to be removed from product during manufacture. If the product is cleaned in accordance with clause A or clause B above, the requirement content in clause A and B of subparagraph 6.4 do not apply prior to cleaning process. So this actually decides the type of product contamination that can be there in the product, which will affect the final user. The product can be manufactured sterile. I mean, this is a medical device, remember, so medical device products have various types of cleanliness levels. For instance, your products, there are certain products which are actually to be sterilized when it is released from the plant. That is your cardiac stents, heart valve, intraocular lenses, they have to be sterilized by the manufacturer by appropriate method before it is released for use. There can be other products which have to be cleaned and sold in a clean manner but not sterilized. And these products can be orthopedic implants which are actually sterilized by the hospital before they are used. So they have to be clean but not sterile. So these products are also re-sterilizable products, the implants. So they should be able to withstand constant re-sterilization in a plant, in a hospital premises. So all this is contamination control in a product, and this is also examined in the audit. Validation of processes and production and service provision. The validation is very important. General, the manufacturer shall validate any process of production and service provision where the resulting output cannot be verified by subsequent monitoring or measurement. This includes any processes where deficiencies become apparent only after the product is in use. Validation shall demonstrate the ability of these processes to achieve planned results. The manufacturer shall establish arrangements for these processes, including as applicable, define criteria for review and approval of the process, approval of equipment and qualification of personnel, use of specific methods of procedures, requirement for records and revalidation. The manufacturer shall establish document procedures for the validation of the application of computer software and its changes to such software or its application for production and service provisions for that affect the ability of the product. Conform to the specific requirements, such software application shall be validated prior to initial use. Records of validation shall be maintained. So what is the validation? Validation, the first line if you read very carefully, validation is for processes for production and service provisions where the resulting output cannot be validated by subsequent monitoring and testing. That is, you cannot test and find out whether the process has gone through properly or not. In such cases, the processes have to be verified and validated repeatedly to show that the end result remains the same. In such cases, you don't require a final testing of the product, but each process, if it is validated properly by various means, your product at the end of the day will be the required product that you require to be released to the market. Technical manpower is met and discussed with to evaluate the knowledge. In this case, what happens is the technical manpower is discussed, is interviewed in the audit. A comprehensive report is prepared of the inspection team giving observations and deficiencies noted. So after all this is done, the inspection, the walkthrough inspection, the observations are made, the workmen interacted with, the technical manpower interviewed, the product is in detail is examined, a comprehensive report is prepared by the medical device inspection team. The result of the inspection can have the following outcomes. It can either recommend grant of license, or it can recommend grant of license subject to a re-inspection after removal of shortcomings, or rejection of application for grant of license. The third case is usually a rare case because one who has actually invested a lot of money will actually see that he gets a license. So it is the second case which is usually the case because there's a bit of a gap between the understanding of the applicant and the requirement. So what happens is there are certain deficiencies which are usually noted, and these are removed and the team re-inspects to check for the removal of the shortcomings and grants a license. Final decision on the inspection report is taken and conveyed to the applicant as early as possible, as this is not formally intimated at the inspection site. No inspector or auditor will tell after the inspection whether he is getting a license or not, because it is not in his hands to say it, and it also creates a sort of problem in the inspection schedule and the relationship between the inspected and the inspector. In case the inspection is recommended, the applicant should remove the shortcomings and or give satisfactory explanation to the licensing authority to take further necessary action. In case the shortcomings are noted, the manufacturer may feel that the shortcomings have not been understood and been wrongly mentioned by the auditors. In that case, he can go in for an explanation and explain to the regulator that this shortcoming is not shortcoming, it has been wrongly interpreted, and necessary action taken. In case the application is rejected, the applicant has the right to apply again with a fresh application fees and follow the inspection procedure again. However, the applicant, if he is not satisfied with the inspection, has the right to approach the government for a review. Government in this case is not the CDSO but the government, respective government, state government or central government. This actually is in nutshell the inspection and what the inspection procedure goes through and what is inspected during the inspection. This is very scanty and small. However, once you go through the medical device regulation details, you may find out the QMS gives you much more scope to understand the whole thing and what is required. Now, some of the question and answers are over here, very simple one. However, you will be getting much more question and answers we have to submit later on. for assessment. In case you require further clarifications, you can always get back to us for a detailed answer to your queries. Thank you very much.